Tonight, Schoolyard tragedy. An 11-year-old boy killed after being mowed down by a runaway driver. 4 other children tonight in hospital with serious injuries. Exclusive, the Melbourne mum who wants her son locked up to protect the community. A breakthrough after a 3-week murder manhunt. Matthew Perry's haunting words to his mother just before his death. First on 7, an AFL investigation launched into the Cats coach's second job, and why a Melbourne Cup favourite has been sensationally ruled out.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. First tonight to an unthinkable tragedy in Melbourne's east. An 11-year-old boy has been killed and 4 other children are in hospital with serious injuries after a car slammed into a primary school just before pickup. These pictures obtained by 7 News show the frantic aftermath of the crash which happened at Auburn South Primary. The female driver who had a child in her car has been arrested. We're live at the scene and at the Royal Children's Hospital tonight. First, here's how the tragedy unfolded.
Chaos in the schoolyard.
Bro, what the
A P-plater was driving past Auburn South Primary when she lost control, ploughing through the fence and into a shaded play area, hitting 5 children.
Unfortunately, she has struck a table where there were 5 children seated within the school grounds.
Terrifying, far too close to home. It's a beautiful school with little kids. It's just, you don't think those things happen.
It happened shortly before pickup. One child suffered life-threatening injuries and was rushed to hospital in a critical condition.
Very tragically and sadly, one of those children has passed away.
4 other children suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
It's devastating, not just for the kids, I hope they're okay, but more for the parents.
Witnesses say they saw small children running from the collision and teachers running towards it to comfort the injured. At least one is believed to have been underneath the SUV. So far, there's no indication on why the car veered off the road and through the fence. The school was immediately placed into lockdown.
You don't know if it's your own. Yeah, you just wonder, do you know the families?
And Estelle Grieping has the latest from the scene. Estelle, police have just addressed the media.
Well, Mitch, their investigation is still in the very early stages, but what they believe has happened is a school mum has tried to do a U-turn and then lost control after picking up her child. The scene behind me still remains a crime scene. This investigation is now entering its 4th hour. Here's what police had to say a short time ago.
A 40-year-old female has driven to the school to collect a child. After collecting the child, she's performed a U-turn and collided into the fence of the school, crashing through the fence. The 40-year-old female is in custody. She's been interviewed by detectives as we speak. It's a tragic circumstance. It's really tough for everybody involved, from the community, the school community, the locals, the first responders.
Mitch, at this point, no charges have been laid. We'll bring you all the latest information as it breaks.
Estelle Grieping at Hawthorn East, thank you. Now to Geordie Wright at the Royal Children's Hospital. And Geordie, the surviving victims are in the best possible hands.
Mitch, 3 of the children were rushed to the emergency department here at the Royal Children's Hospital. Sadly, an 11-year-old boy has since passed away. A further 2 children were taken to the Monash Medical Centre at Clayton. All 4 are in a serious condition tonight, Mitch.
Geordie Wright at the Royal Children's Hospital, thank you. Australia's dark history with domestic violence is back in the spotlight after the violent death of Nikita Azzopardi in her South Morang home. Tonight, her boyfriend remains in police custody as grief-stricken relatives try to process the tragedy.
A single bunch of flowers for Nikita Azzopardi as grief-stricken family members returned to the South Morang crime scene, the very home where they found the 35-year-old dead on Monday morning. Her boyfriend of more than 2 years, a suspect in custody.
Our hearts go out to Nikita's family. This has been a year where we have seen far too many women lose their life.
The sickening discovery has sent shockwaves around the nation and put a spotlight on domestic violence once again.
You wake up and you pick up your phone and you start to become very hypersensitive to what is it we're going to hear, to not another homicide, not another death.
Greeted with a hug, there's no comfort for Nikita's older brother Sean. Escorted inside to retrieve her car, it's understood she lived between the townhouse she was found in and another residence in Thornbury. Nikita's boyfriend has now been in custody for more than 24 hours, and while he is cooperating, detectives have warned the family the investigation could take quite some time. The homicide squad finished processing the scene late today, removing pieces of evidence from the two-storey home, among them a large safe. Charges are yet to be laid. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
To breaking news now, and the AFL has launched an investigation into Geelong coach Chris Scott's new job with one of the club's major sponsors. Chief Football reporter Mitch Cleary has the exclusive details, and Mitch, the league wants answers.
Well, Peter, the AFL has just informed 7 News moments ago it is making inquiries into Scott's new role. Just last week, he was unveiled as Chief of Leadership and Performance at Morris Finance. The league tracks all third-party deals, but is making queries around the implications of this one on Geelong's soft cap. Now, each club has around $8 million to spend on its football department. The league will ask, should part or all of Scott's deal with Morris Finance be included in the club's soft cap? And is this role different to an arrangement he's had with Morris in previous years? The Cats have been contacted for comment. We'll have more on this developing story when it comes to hand. Peter?
Mitch Cleary in the newsroom, thank you. There's been a breakthrough arrest over a deadly attack in the city after a 3-week manhunt. Bethan Yeoman has the details, and Beth, he was tracked to Moonee Ponds.
Mitch, Todd Menegaldo is now in police custody, where he'll be questioned over the death of 44-year-old Andrew Truman earlier this month. The Seddon man was punched in the head outside the McDonald's on Elizabeth Street in the city. He suffered significant head injuries and died in hospital a few days later. Police believe the pair are known to each other and that it was a targeted attack, but the motive remains unclear. The 33-year-old was located at a boarding house by the fugitive squad after a 3-week manhunt. Truman's family say they are relieved, but at this stage, no charges have been laid. Mitch?
Bethan Yeoman at police headquarters, thank you. A toxic smoke warning has been issued for Melbourne's western suburbs following a factory fire at Laverton North. Crews responded to the blaze at the recycling plant on Plummer Road just after midday. Nearby factories were evacuated and residents have been told to stay away. The fire is yet to be brought under control. Victoria Police is embarking on a new youth crime crackdown to get young offenders back on track. The program has the backing from desperate Melbourne mothers unable to control their teens.
Behind every young criminal causing chaos is often a family pleading for help.
My biggest fear as his mother is that he's going to kill someone on the roads in a stolen car and kill himself.
The reality is this is happening, and it's almost like an epidemic where people are being killed.
2 mothers of prolific teen offenders in Melbourne's southeast bravely shared their story with 7 News.
It must be a really weird feeling to think I'd rather my son behind bars than on the streets.
It's an awful feeling to have.
I cannot describe the feeling when one of my children has gone missing, of the turmoil that goes through my body.
In July, Victoria Police launched its crime reduction team in Melbourne and Geelong.
If you stuff up, we're watching you, we're hounding you.
They're assigned to manage the state's worst young offenders.
Part of the strategy of thinking outside the box and changing the way we do things is it takes a village to raise a child.
They're doing critical work, and I am seeing a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. They're staying home. The offending has significantly reduced.
The officers develop a relationship with families, contact children if their parents are concerned, and even act as a point of contact for kids who've messed up, once during a live pursuit.
So he's actually called up during the chase?
Yeah, called a police officer who's guided him to a police station.
Someone to call, someone to email, someone to contact at any time. They've also stepped right in and helped with my child. They contact him, they're just watching him.
It's been really beneficial and critical, in fact, for our family to reduce crime, to reduce deaths.
A final message.
At the end of the day, we're police. We've got to protect the community, and these are the young people that are causing us the most grief.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
The Qantas flight upgrade scandal isn't going away, with demands for the Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate the Prime Minister. Anthony Albanese claims he can't recall phoning former CEO Alan Joyce about personal travel upgrades and is now hitting back, questioning Peter Dutton's integrity.
As Prime Minister, he now has his own RAF jet, greeted by locals today in Albury-Wodonga. As he hits back against claims he solicited free flight upgrades from former Qantas CEO Alan Joyce.
I've been completely transparent about this.
He says the only calls he can recollect with Mr Joyce were about promotional flights taken with other politicians from Perth to London and another to Dubai, as opposition leader Peter Dutton turns up the heat.
Just not a credible statement that he's made.
Demanding a corruption inquiry.
I think the Prime Minister should take the initiative to refer this matter to the Integrity Commission.
The Prime Minister's office calling that a pathetic attempt at creating a headline as Mr Albanese questions Mr Dutton's record. Flights on mining billionaire Gina Rinehart's private jet from Perth to Pilbara in 2022 and Rockhampton to Sydney and back to Mackay the same year.
I didn't have to declare any flights on private jets owned by billionaires like Gina Rinehart.
Apparently forgetting he did declare a helicopter ride with transport billionaire Lindsay Fox. Anthony Albanese doubling down, turning integrity and transparency questions onto Peter Dutton's personal investments, held in a private trust.
What they own, what they invest in, what income they have, all hidden away.
And of former columnist and Liberal Party advisor Joe Aston, author of a new book containing the upgrade allegations.
I don't see decorations that in June he was a guest, him and John Howard, at a Liberal Party fundraiser in the electorate of Wentworth.
This debate getting personal and nasty. Mark Riley, 7 News.
An e-scooter rider has been killed in a collision on a busy road in Melbourne's southeast. The crash happened on the corner of Westall Road and Thames Avenue in Cranbourne. A 31-year-old man died at the scene. The 23-year-old female driver stopped and has spoken with police. Australia's COVID-19 response has been found to be poorly prepared, badly executed and unnecessarily expensive. But the landmark inquiry has praised thousands of frontline workers and a very patient general public.
Throwing the book at COVID-19, 2 years on, a pandemic rear view, 850 pages of it.
Well, I'm going to start.
And he didn't stop.
Our response to the pandemic was not as effective as it could have been.
Specifically,
the impact of the slowness of our vaccine rollout, a lack of transparency, the failures in aged care.
On the economy.
Big decisions were taken and big mistakes were made, spraying around tens of billions of dollars on companies that didn't need JobKeeper, and it was inflationary.
The opposition's reading.
It was a hit job. We saved lives and we saved livelihoods.
Despite 20,000 dead, the document does give Australia a pandemic pass when compared to other carnage in other countries. That was thanks to world-class frontline workers and an obedient Australian public, which was willing to follow the rules. But
many of the measures taken during COVID-19 are unlikely to be accepted by the population again.
And having a zero COVID mentality influenced a lot of the decisions when zero COVID was never going to work in the medium to long term.
Announced today $250 million for an American-style Centre for Disease Control, a pandemic torchlight to guide us through the next one, while many still heal from the ruins of the last.
Right now, we are arguably worse placed as a country to deal with a pandemic than we were in early 2020.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A new campaign is underway tonight to axe an archaic tax costing the television industry tens of millions of dollars. Broadcast licence fees were set up decades ago, but Seven's national news boss argues they do more harm than good.
The fight for an audience is tougher than ever, but Seven's national news boss argues the playing field is also more uneven. Anthony DeSegli, speaking at a Melbourne Press Club event, has called on the federal government to ditch the broadcast licence fee charged to commercial stations.
I asked the Albanese government, how many jobs do they think that is? How many TV newsroom shifts will disappear so that we can pay it?
Across 7, 9 and 10, the annual fee is around $45 million. It's been in place decades. Anthony DeSegli argues social media platforms and streaming services don't pay a licence fee to operate here.
To a large extent, they're now replicating the model that free-to-air television in Australia has, but they're not paying a licence fee to get there.
It comes at a time disinformation on social media is more prevalent. Some state governments are limiting access to young people.
Against these evil forces, and calling them evil forces is not an exaggeration, there is only one true antidote, and that is the news. The truth.
News content deals struck with Meta and Google are expiring, and some are not being renewed. The future of payment for content deals remains uncertain.
Good evening and welcome to television.
Media landscapes have changed since TV's early glory days. Seven argues the rules of engagement have fallen behind. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
It's crunch time for Victoria's Year 12s, with 45,000 VCE students sitting their English exams today. One Melbourne school was seeing double, with 6 sets of twins putting pen to paper.
After 13 long years of schooling, it all comes down to this.
Some 45,000 students will start their VCE written examinations.
Today's marathon 3-hour English paper making the start of exam season for the class of 2024.
I was definitely feeling the nerves, but when I went in there, I just kind of locked in, and I'm so glad it's over.
I'm feeling relieved that it's all done, all the hard work and effort's paid off.
Some nervous energy, but good to get the first one out of the way for the VCE students today.
It was double the effort for twins Emma and James Bowden, side by side since the start.
Sort of have like our own, alliance.
A bittersweet moment for Dad.
They're effectively adults now, and it seems like only yesterday they were starting in prep.
The pair is among 6 sets of twins at Ivanhoe Grammar School starting final exams.
I have the same person going through the same thing with me at home, and we're just there to support each other.
Just having that support definitely makes it a lot easier.
Students will sit exams throughout November in more than 100 VCE subjects. Then it's a nervous wait until their final results are released on December 12. The education system faces scrutiny, with government secondary schools recording their highest rate of Year 12 dropouts in a decade.
We can get them to the end of Year 12, it's a really strong success indicator for future life, but it's not necessarily about getting the best ATAR available.
But regardless of this year's results,
always remember, your ATAR does not define you.
Tyra Stowers, 7 News.
Good advice. Tim's here with a look ahead to sport, and Tim Hawthorn's boom recruit has spoken out.
Mitch Tom Barrass has detailed how lucky he was to land at the Hawks, and he's addressed some controversial comments in an interview with Mitch Cleary.
Sometimes those things age poorly, and I put my hand up and say I was wrong about that.
More from that exclusive interview shortly. Also, a long-range thunderbolt helps the Matildas create history in Germany, and one of the favourites for the Melbourne Cup, Mitch, has pulled out. Those details soon.
OK, thank you, Tim. We'll see you then. Heavily armed police have stormed a home to solve a crime mystery, and you won't believe what they were there to investigate. Also ahead on 7 News, the new plan to end Melbourne's tobacco turf war. The race to secure young votes a week out from the US election. Later, Myers' mega new shake-up. Also the gutsy Melbourne teenagers on a 9-month mission for East Timor. Heavily armed police have swarmed a Sydney home, arresting a third person over the alleged theft of 63,000 limited edition Bluey coins.
Police, search warrant, open the door. Hurry up, let's go.
The 27-year-old has been charged with a raft of offences, including aggravated break and enter. The collectible currency was stolen from a warehouse 3 months ago. Police say the woman was the getaway driver in the heists. The Premier's under pressure to do something to stop the nightly fire bombings in Victoria's tobacco turf war. Today, the opposition introduced its own plan to Parliament, but it was laughed off by the Allen government.
Night after night, police have warned.
I'm really surprised there's been no deaths.
Organised crime see that as a very easy opening to make high profit with low risk.
And yet, for months, the Premier has batted away questions.
We have been doing the work over recent months.
There has been a huge amount of work undertaken. We're working on legislation right now.
The coalition is fed up.
Over 100 tobacco shops or related tobacco shops have been firebombed, and this has to stop. The Allen Labor government sits on its hands.
So today,
I move that I introduce a bill for an act to amend the Tobacco Act 1987.
They introduced their own tobacco licensing scheme with fines of up to $1 million, jail time of up to 2 years and greater police search and seizure powers.
This bill needs to be introduced now. We must stop this senseless burning of tobacco shops.
But it was immediately blocked by the state government.
This kind of petty stunt is not getting us to where we need to go.
While the Premier says her focus is on getting young people into homes, the opposition says Victoria's raging tobacco wars are very much a housing issue.
People who live at or near these tobacco places are genuinely fearful of the outcomes that can happen with these fire bombings.
For now, the best they can hope for is...
We will be bringing a tobacco licensing scheme to the Parliament, and we'll be doing that before the end of the year.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Donald Trump has mocked claims he can be likened to Adolf Hitler as the vicious language dominating the US election campaign intensifies. A week out from polling day, America seems increasingly split down gender lines in the chase for younger voters.
Morning church in suburban Atlanta. Packing a 4,000-seat stadium, their congregation a picture of unity. Though many here admit another factor is dividing men and women, the presidential election. One poll this week has young women backing Kamala Harris by a thumping 33-point margin, while young men are almost evenly divided between the candidates. A growing number of young black men are putting their faith in Donald Trump.
That you would continue to give him your wisdom.
As he turns to faith leaders in battleground Georgia before preaching to his followers.
She's a fascist, okay? She's a fascist.
Defending his New York rally yesterday, likened to a 1939 Nazi event. In Washington state, the first flames of an already fiery presidential election, mail-in ballot boxes targeted, hundreds of votes in ashes as the FBI launches an investigation. Joe Biden had once hoped his name would be on the ballot. Instead, the outgoing president, now one of 43 million Americans who voted early. The fear among Democrats is on election night, if they lose, they'll look to this group, particularly young African American men. And in there, they might find the reason that Kamala Harris lost her bid for the presidency. In Atlanta, Georgia, Tim Lester, 7 News.
The rain in Spain has packed a punch. A megastorm unleashed over Andalusia, hammering the region with many parts hit with large hail. Cars were pelted and windscreens shattered, no doubt leaving insurance companies with a serious headache. Back home, Jane Bunn joins us now. And Jane, the sunshine took all morning to appear, but it was pleasant when it did arrive.
Finally, Mitch, we had such a contrast to the morning after grey skies settled in once again overnight. The cloud was low and a bit foggy and murky, but once it cleared out, it felt like a different day, briefly reaching 18.6. 5 of the past 7 days have been near average or well below. Friday was 5 degrees cooler. 2 days have been above average. That was the weekend. Sunday was 6 degrees above. Now, I'll show you if this blue sky will stick around after sport, Mitch.
That'll be nice. Thank you very much, Jane. An inquest has uncovered how the final moments played out in the life of crooked cop Roger Rogerson. The findings are next. Also ahead on 7 News, Hoon madness caught on camera. An up-close look at the Australian Army's new Black Hawks. Matthew Perry's mother opens up on the anniversary of the Friends star's death. And the fitness app tracking the every move of the world's most powerful leaders. Wild video has emerged of an Adelaide man joyriding on the windshield of a car bearing L plates. The thrill seeker was recorded by a mate as they sped down a street. A young child can be heard laughing from the back seat. Police are investigating. Australia's newest army helicopter fleet has taken to the skies ready for counter-terrorism exercises. Defence spent billions on the Black Hawk helicopters, today showing off their capabilities.
A menacing sight over Sydney. Black Hawks in formation flying low over the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. A very public debut of the Army's newest aircraft.
It's a fully capable aircraft, it's a mature and reliable aircraft, and that's what we need.
A workhorse, the helicopters will be used for everything from disaster relief to special operations missions. Like this hostage and siege scenario at Holsworthy Barracks.
Very versatile platform. It provides multi-mission effects.
Fast-tracked into service from the United States after the troubled Taipan fleet was grounded and retired last year. Defence rejecting Ukraine's pleas to donate them, instead stripping the parts and melting them down.
We have about 28 of those airframes have now been destroyed, with much of that of the airframes being recycled. We've moved on from the Taipan.
Back to a tried and trusted platform, one the Army first flew in the 1980s.
There's a deep foundation, myself included, who have nothing but fond memories of the Black Hawk, and to see it, a new model back in service here, is heartwarming.
Australia has fought for 40 of these choppers. This is one of 10 already in the country. Another 2 will arrive before the end of the year. The remainder over the next 6 years.
A $3 billion investment. Rob Scott, 7 News.
An inquest into the death of disgraced detective Roger Rogerson has revealed the 83-year-old was bedridden and confused during his last 7 months of life. The former police officer was serving a life sentence for the murder of drug dealer Jamie Gow in 2014. A coroner today finding Rogerson died from a major stroke but had received appropriate medical care. Inquests are mandatory for any deaths in custody. The mother of Friends actor Matthew Perry says it was inevitable drug addiction would claim his life. It's a year since the sitcom star died, his family's focus now saving other lives.
Of all the Friends...
I'm Chandler, I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable.
Chandler Bing was perhaps the funniest, but behind the laughs, Matthew Perry's private struggles became his family's pain.
There was an inevitability to what was going to happen next to him. But he said, I'm not frightened anymore.
It's a year since the 54-year-old's mother and stepfather received the worst news.
Somebody called Suzanne and he just said, Matthew's dead.
Matthew's dead.
Perry had been taking ketamine to treat anxiety, but it became an addiction. 5 people have been charged, 3 have pleaded guilty, the others not guilty. They'll face a trial. As they speak for the first time, Matthew Perry's family prefer to remember the good times. Tonight, co-star Jennifer Aniston posting a simple link to the Matthew Perry Foundation. Now run by his sister, it will become this family's focus.
Millions of people have had that loss, and we're very aware of that. And this is not about us, it's about those millions of people.
In Los Angeles, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
The highly confidential movements of world leaders are being given away by a fitness app. The stunning claim has been made by a French newspaper. It found the locations of people like Joe Biden, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin can be easily tracked online through the Strava app used by their bodyguards. The tracker is often used by runners and cyclists to record their workouts. The Premier is making a fresh promise to crack down on Melbourne's machete and knife crime. We'll have the details next on 7 News. Also coming up, Myer's high five as the retail giant makes a new play for power. The self-confessed mad Melbourne teenagers on an epic journey for an incredible cause. And after sport, the new online safety program turning our tiniest students into cyber detectives. The Premier is promising to introduce new laws to crack down on machete crime. It comes after a terrifying confrontation between teenagers outside a house in Melbourne's southeast.
Please play, Barrass. Hey, sorry, Mum, sorry.
As we are strengthening the Controlled Weapons Act to give police additional powers. But it be very clear, there is absolutely no reason for any individual to be carrying around such a dangerous weapon.
The new laws would include expanding the already beefed up police search powers. Myer's new boss is making her mark with a bold bid to buy 5 Australian fashion brands, including Just Jeans. Here's business editor Amelia Brace.
The commercials scream My Store Myer, and when it comes to fashion, Myer wants it all. The chain already owns 3 big apparel brands and is set to buy more. In a near $1 billion deal, it will acquire 5 Aussie fashion favourites from retail lord Solomon Lew. The move is transformational, taking Myer's retail reach well beyond department stores and deep into suburban shopping centres. All up, it'd mean 780 stores, 17,000 staff and $4 billion in annual sales. It's the first big move by new Myer boss Olivia Worth, who's come across from Qantas and wants to grow the business after years of decline. If the deal goes through, you'll be able to use your Myer One card everywhere, from JJ's to Jackie E. Also, expect all 5 brands to show up on Myer shelves.
Time now for an update on Victoria's blood supply from Lifeblood. Multiple blood types are running low and supplies are forecast to drop even further. Lifeblood is urging more people to step up this week, with 3,000 more donations needed across the state. If you don't know your blood type, becoming a donor is the easiest way to find out. Search blood supply or visit lifeblood.com.au to book your donation. 2 self-confessed mad Melbourne teenagers are on the home stretch of an epic 14,000-kilometre ride around Australia. Their life-changing journey will also change lives in East Timor.
The final legs of a 9-month odyssey Leo Norman and Cesare Carmichael admit is totally crazy.
You just got to kind of resign to the fact that things are always going to go wrong and kind of embrace them and figure out how to get out of it.
The 2 teenagers left Melbourne on January 1st, cycling around Australia the hard way. Unsupported, unplanned, sleeping rough. In Queensland, extreme heat.
Some days the tar would be melting on the road.
In the Northern Territory, floods.
Fish were swimming across the road.
In Western Australia, road trains. One knocked Cesare off his bike.
They sort of do sound like sort of death rumbling past you at 100 or 110 kilometres an hour.
Now they've ridden 13,700 kilometres, raised more than $120,000. To rebuild a rundown school in East Timor. They diverted there during their ride.
In Australia, you can raise $100,000 and you can maybe buy a Land Cruiser. In Timor, you can fund a school which generations and generations of kids will go to.
They finish in Melbourne Friday.
In a couple of weeks when I am back at home, I will be sort of wishing I was still riding out on those vast plains and just crossing the country.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
What a remarkable effort. Tim's back with sport, and Tim, a Hawks recruit, nearly gave up footy.
Mitch, Tom Barrass details how the tables turned to land at Hawthorn. Coming up, our exclusive interview with the star defender who tells us why he was barracking against the Hawks. Also, a Melbourne Cup favourite pulls out, but nothing will stop Gay Waterhouse at her pooch in Flemington. And see the Matildas stunner that helped break a German drought. Welcome back. Ex-Eagle Tom Barrass has revealed he considered walking away from the game before being lured to Hawthorn. The star defender spoke exclusively with Mitch Cleary on how his relationship with Sam Mitchell reignited his passion for footy.
As the hockball craze caught fire, Tom Barrass couldn't help but get swept in.
A little bit controversial, some of the hock stuff, but it speaks to good management and it speaks to fun culture.
In truth, his decision was made in July after Sam Mitchell, his former teammate, came knocking.
I could only ever be open-minded to Sam coming to Western Australia once I'd realised that I was a bit dissatisfied in my life and I was looking for something new, whether it be a new career in another industry or a new opportunity. His mentorship was something that really appealed to me, learning the game off one of the greats to have ever done it.
12 months earlier, Barrass considered Sydney before staying. 7 News understands he was promised a better Eagles deal that never came.
West Coast have had a time of instability, 2 different administrations, and administrations sometimes disagree on what the best thing to do is.
In June, he again said he would stay.
Mate, I'm a West Coast Eagles player, and unless the rug gets pulled out from under my feet, I'll stay that way. Sometimes those things age poorly, and I put my hand up and say I was wrong about that.
But with 3 years left, the Hawks offered 4, traded for future first and second round picks.
To be honest, I was hoping Hawks would lose towards the end of the year a bit more than they were. I thought they were going to get pick 18 at one stage, which wasn't going to help me arrive at the footy club.
Training already underway to get on top of a long-term back issue, and while new teammate Josh Battle didn't attend the Saints BNF, Barrass made sure he farewelled the Eagles.
It was really important for me to try and leave the club with as much respect as I could, but ultimately this is a commercial decision and I need to represent the interests of my family.
Can you win a flag at the Hawks in your next 4 years of a contract?
I very much hope so.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Geelong's Aisling Maloney has thrown her support behind an AFLW international round next season after celebrating a 6-goal haul on the weekend. The Irish recruit now holds the record for the most goals in a single season with 21, with just 1 round left.
I think it'll be incredible. I think we need to set a date, MCG, sell it out, Irish versus all Australians. So we'll have Zach Dewey as our coach.
The Cats must beat Adelaide on Friday night for any chance of playing finals. Gai Waterhouse has high hopes for a lone Melbourne Cup chance despite an unexpected defeat last week. Meanwhile, one of the international favourites has already been ruled out by vets.
The queen of the track keeping a different four-legged friend in check. It's an unusual start to a Melbourne Cup carnival for Gai Waterhouse. There'll be just 1 Cup appearance from her stables. 7-year-old gelding Just Fine.
Fantastic to think all of you guys and girls turn up for the horse that ran last in the Gold Cup at Moonee Valley. He's fine, he's just fine. So, his blood's well, he's eating well. Why shouldn't he run?
An early blow for one of the favourites. Jan Bruegel ruled out by Racing Victoria after failing to pass a vet test. And there could be another withdrawal. The Waller camp weighing up whether to run the star mare Via Sistina next Tuesday or in the Champion Stakes.
It's been great to see that she's been rated the highest rated horse in the world, which really did show how good the win was. So we're just trying to make sure that we're preserving her to ensure that wasn't just a one-off run, and she's got a lot more to come.
Chris Waller still has 8 horses in the mix for the iconic race, including the now favourite Buckaroo.
3,200 metre distance is a new challenge for a lot of horses, including Buckaroo, but he's certainly going into the race well prepared.
Jamie Carr will be on board Kieran Maher's Akita Sushi in the Melbourne Cup. Her original ride, Point King, withdrawn.
Happy to pick up Akita Sushi. Can't knock Kieran. He knows what he's doing with him, so I'm happy to be riding a horse for him.
The Melbourne Cup Carnival kicks off on Saturday. The first Group 1 will be the highly anticipated Victoria Derby. Anthony Cummings trained El Costello, currently the favourite. Kate Massey, 7 News.
The Karakuni Cross Wonder Strike propelled the Matildas to a stunning upset win over world number 4 Germany. Trailing 1-0 nearing half-time, Cooney Cross launched this from long range.
Cooney Cross is going to shoot from distance. Incredible! Australia are level! And it's Kyra Cooney Cross.
Claire Hunt scored in the 77th minute to seal the 2-1 victory for the Aussies.
Absolutely delighted by the effort of the players, the discipline of the players, the work rate of the players, and the attitude for 90 minutes. I thought the team did an absolutely fantastic job tonight.
It's the Matildas' first win over Germany since 2005. What a cracking strike that was, Mitch.
Sweet as a nut, I think. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. The launch of a new online safety program is allowing Australia's tiniest students to become cyber detectives. The free course is being rolled out this week to help children as young as 4 navigate online risks.
In a lesson for the ages, these Grade 1 students are being taught how to stay safe in cyberspace.
Did the stranger respect his decision? No. Oh, no good. We want children to understand that not everything they see online is real.
The Alana and Madeline Foundation's eSmart Digital Licence program addresses a range of risks, including excessive use of devices, online conduct, inappropriate or harmful content, and contact.
We see a lot of anxiety coming from the games that they're interacting with online and not understanding who they're interacting with and why.
The online safety series will be taught to children as young as 4.
1/3 of 6 to 13-year-olds already own a smartphone, and so this education needs to start really young.
My favourite bit was learning about consent.
There's no magic pill to keeping young people safe online. But it's absolutely essential that we have a government that invests in digital literacy.
The $6 million program is free for families, with the eSafety Commissioner reassuring parents that it's never too soon to have those online safety conversations with young children. The Commissioner finding 89% of 4-year-olds would happily click on a pop-up link, 73% would disclose their name, and 70% would divulge their age.
Starting later on in schooling is almost too late.
Not everything online is real.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Jane's back now with the forecast. And Jane, will the sunshine stick around tomorrow?
Well, yes and no, Mitch. It is grey once again in the morning, then bright sunshine returns and it warms up a little. And on tonight's bright side, the inspiring Melbourne DJ making waves in the local music scene. Hello again. Temperatures rise a little tomorrow afternoon, but that's ahead of a cooler end to the week. If you want warmer weather, Saturday's looking great. Grey skies spread across Melbourne overnight, once again bringing a gloomy morning. Bright sunshine appeared during the afternoon and reached 18.6 in the city. The cloud pushed in across these parts of southern Victoria with sunshine for the rest. Most of the south returned to sunshine this afternoon, but the cloud is still lurking near the coast. Those under the cloud are on the cool side, while it is mild to warm in the sun. High pressure to our west brings cooler winds, most felt near the coast. That high pressure system tries to move in tomorrow, but it doesn't make it right through to the east, so it's not the real warm-up. Instead, the next high pressure system, that one way back there, builds to our west and a cold front approaches. It warms a little more in the northwest tomorrow, and it's not quite as cool in the south, but cool air sweeps through once again on Thursday for a chilly end to the week. The front only grazes us, so while it is cool, it is not really wet. Showers in the south here won't be adding up to much. It is very different by Saturday. Temperatures jump up as that high moves to the east. The darker yellows are the high 20s, and that includes Melbourne. And Sunday's interesting. A cool change makes it hot here in the northeast and cool in the southwest. There could be a 20-degree temperature difference. Around the nation tomorrow, slight risk of a shower or storm in Brisbane, sunshine for Sydney and Adelaide. Perth sunshine, it lets it reach 31. To Victoria, areas of foggy cloud linger in these parts of the south in the morning. Generally clearing to sunshine, but the cloud lingers all day right at the southwest coast and Gippsland coast. The south South to southwesterly winds are light. The far north goes just over 30. Closer in, cloud does sweep back through again overnight, generally grey tomorrow morning. That sunshine reappears during the afternoon, taking longest in the southeast. Tomorrow is very similar to today, mostly cloudy in the morning, sunny in the afternoon, but in lighter winds it should rise to 21. To the 8-day outlook, showers push through on Thursday. They don't add up to much, so we're expecting a top of 19, turning cooler in the afternoon. Just 16 for Friday, a fair bit of cloud clearing later. By Saturday, a cold start, but 27 is what I'm expecting in the afternoon. Lots of sunshine. The cool change is likely to move through on Sunday morning. So after a very warm night, we may not drop below 21. It's 24 before those temperatures drop, and then 19 for Tuesday. 21 tomorrow, once the bright sunshine returns in the afternoon. Now to tonight's Bright Side. Remember the name DJ Cooper Smith. The 19-year-old was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at birth, but that hasn't stopped him sharing the stage with some of the world's biggest artists.
I'm just sort of really in awe because the fact that he can get up there and physically, remain standing and DJ for an hour and a half because he was expected, never to be able to walk or stand up.
He's performed at major music festivals, including the Australian Open and Beyond the Valley. If you'd like to catch Cooper's set, you can check out his Instagram at DJ Cooper Smith. Here for his weekend lineup, Mitch.
I'll write that down a little bit later on. Thanks very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 29th of October. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download